Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Obama is standing behind Shinseki on Veterans Administration scandal. And there's a reason for that. We're going to play the clip of Bill Gates coming up where he talks about death panels and how if you kill one old lady, you can hire 10 teachers. They are selling the idea that someone has to lose for you to gain. As they shrink the size of the pie, they sell the idea that a collapsing economy, a collapsing culture, collapsing choices, collapsing economic diversity is what will deliver funds and jobs and money to the bureaucratic class as they slit their own throats. And this is, of course, diametrically opposed to real economic theorem. It's been proven to be accurate. We're going to be breaking that down coming up today. And we've got a lot of VA whistleblowers coming to us. A senior individual at a major veterans hospital on the East Coast. That's all I can say because the person's so senior. Now that I think about it in hindsight, we probably should have just not even interviewed him via the phone. We should have done a transcript and then said what hospital. Doesn't matter. We're a credible news organization. We don't make up sources. The trolls, probably government, probably Pentagon, are all over the story on Infowars.com and YouTube saying, oh, we don't believe this. It's made up. Really? We've got a whole bunch of whistleblowers coming forward who are going to name names and who are going to say who they are. And we've got veterans. And some of our own crew that are veterans have been going into the VA. And you're not going to believe what's been happening to them at the Austin VA that is listed as being involved in the death list. The death panels. And by the way, we've got video, everything, okay? We're just trying to absorb all the intel we've got with our small organization. There are death lists, and we've got members of the Democratic Party coming out, like Bill Press, we have video of that coming up, disgustingly saying it's a Republican conspiracy theory following the Hillary-Bill Clinton memo from 1995. I mean, Bill Clinton could be caught on top of Monica Lewinsky, and he would say, it's a conspiracy theory. Well, Bill, I mean, you're actually involved in intercourse. Bill, we could film a porno movie right now with you and Monica. No, that's not what that is. I'm a gynecologist. And, you know, we can make jokes all day about this. This is incredibly serious because they just sit up there denying everything that's going on in plain view. And it's a standard denial, but that video and audio is up on Infowars.com. VA supervisor, older veterans should be shot in the head to save money. And then it gets into the whole death list where this person has to sit there in administration in these bioethics board meetings where they're deciding to deny care to Korean War and Vietnam vets. And there is a disdain for them. You know, my dad's a physician, and he told me about the attitude of some physicians, especially newer ones, that, you know, it's just time for old folks to die. They don't want to nurture and deal with old ladies or old men. It's like, just go die. And this is an anti-human attitude. We're going to kill babies, 53 million of them. We're going to say black people aren't humans. We're going to, on and on and on. We're going to say old people aren't humans. We're going to say babies aren't humans in the Journal of Bioethics. Remember that a few years ago? They said, kill babies up to age 3. And Bill Gates sits there to a bunch of teachers going, if we don't give Granny health care, we can hire 10 teachers. They're not going to give you more money, you idiot teachers. They're selling you on the idea of death. In Newsweek, the case for killing Granny. It's disgusting. That's coming up. And more. Stay with us. Where to begin? I've got to say, we have to begin with DrudgeReport.com. This video and audio is also up on Infowars.com. Dim. We've proved communism works. Joe Garcia has come out publicly during a committee hearing and said that we've proven communism works. Ladies and gentlemen, communism from North Korea to China to Russia creates unmitigated hell. And we have been purposely maneuvered to go bankrupt and have a domesticated, sickly population. Every metric, from our IQs to our education to our income, shows we're going to hell in a handbasket. JFK in 1961 cut the main tax rate by 50%. The other major tax bracket by 33%. You can look that up. Federal tax receipts doubled the next year. Why then do they want to keep raising taxes when it lowers tax receipts, when it stalls the economy? Because the globalists, by and large, are exempt from the taxes they foist on us. Communism doesn't exist. It's a political term to con the general public back into slavery and to make your labor controlled by central committees who live in giant palaces and who suppress the population with paramilitary police wearing black uniforms and ski masks. But I want to play the disgusting audio of this before we get into the bombshell VA news that's now broken at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Let's go ahead and go to this disgusting clip of Joe Garcia. Here it is.
We proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime. But that isn't what we should be doing on the border. The amount of money that we've poured into there, and we're having a diminishing return. So while we're spending all this money here, we have border problems in Puerto Rico, where we haven't been able to set up a system that's safe there, and people are finding alternative routes. But the opportunity to get this right and the mistake.
There we go. So a guy that's for communism wants open borders here, and then they give you a government job producing nothing. It doesn't matter. You can vote to control the whole country now under democracy. 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. What's for dinner? The sheep. And those of us that produce are the sheep. We are disdained. We are hated. We are persecuted. And misery loves company. The giant unwashed masses that have grown up now, multi-generations on welfare, don't care that Warren Buffett's tax exempt. Don't care that Bill Gates is tax exempt. Don't care that their trillions are washed through international banks, that they're above the law. Don't care they have jet copters. Don't care. Don't care if they have 5 kids when they're telling you not to have kids. They don't care. They hate the guy that lives in a nice house and has a nice car. And our journey into this abject slavery is getting really, really close, ladies and gentlemen. There are at least 10 different Obama czars on record, you've heard them, we've played them here, saying that Mao Zedong and Lenin and people were wonderful and that we need communism. In my experience, these high-level leftist operatives are deploying a type of communism for the general public, but they themselves don't even understand how the tax-free foundations are running it all, and they are useful idiots who literally can hardly talk. When you get around establishment minions and even mid-level functionaries, even high-level functionaries, they don't know what's going on. They are useful idiots in the very sense of V.I. Lenin's quote about useful idiots. Here's a headline: substitute teacher fired for asking 4th graders for dating advice. That's up in New York, investigators say. She was just asking him, what she thought about, the type of guy she should date. But it's okay to teach 1st graders about anal sex and to show them videos of 2 men kissing at a, quote, gay proposal. That's literally promoting pedophilia, in my view. Sexualizing children. But then some teacher goes, hey, I'm dating a couple of guys. Who do you think I ought to go out with? Just some woman thinking about the guys she's dating, shooting her mouth off. Maybe she should have gotten censored. Maybe she should have gotten suspended for a week without pay. But no, she's fired. I always love how that is. You're fired for something petty, but then if it's state-sponsored, you can teach the most horrible stuff imaginary. That's just an example of how this system works. Man claims Albuquerque police caused him to lose a testicle. We're continuing our investigation of what's happening in Albuquerque, where the police are just executing people left and right and getting awards for the feds while they do it. That's all coming up. We've got huge news on the TEPCO releasing contaminated water into the sea, 560 tons of contaminated water. It's bigger than the original disaster weekly as it continues to melt down 5 of the 6 reactors. It's just ongoing. So that's just some of the news on that front. Also, White House picking up pace on executive orders. And Boehner says that Obama will hit a brick wall if he continues to operate dictatorially. Well, not if Boehner has anything to do about it. Boehner's there to act like he's doing something while helping get the whole agenda through, playing golf on a weekly basis with Obama. Also, I want to get into political correctness mind control. People keep calling them idiots. They keep calling them morons. They keep calling the environmentalists wackos. They're not wackos. They're taking over our whole country and a world, putting smart meters in to track us. They're shutting down our energy sources. They're shutting down all industry they don't control. They're putting in surveillance systems to track all human activity. They are conquering us. And the average low-level environmentalist means well, they just don't understand the big picture. But now, dovetailing that, this is out of East Greenwich newspaper, and they report this with a straight face. Cole Middle School cancels honors night because it's seen as exclusive, and anything exclusive is deemed racist. And also they're saying stop using the term hump day on Wednesdays. That, too, is racist. And petting zoos are now racist. I'm not kidding. We're going to be breaking this down. Because, well, if there's a camel at it, that puts down Arabs. And you heard it. If you have a party with Mexican food, it's not because you like Mexican food. If you have a fiesta party and invite your friends over and you know, have a piñata. I had piñatas almost every birthday. I loved them. It's because my parents were racist, not because it was fun and I asked for a piñata. Cowboy hats are Spanish and come from Mexico. So I guess it's racist that I wore a cowboy hat when I worked on ranches. Folks, what this is conscious, again, conscious takeover of society across the board, where everything is politically incorrect and a thought crime so that you won't say or do anything, and so anyone can be denounced at any time. This is right out of the Soviet Union. The term hate speech and hate crime is from the Soviet Union. It was developed in the 40s.
Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me.
Okay, well, if you like that commercial, you may be racist. The University of St. Thomas in Minnesota now canceling an event to celebrate the end of the year after some people complained about bringing a hump day camel.
Now, again, folks, people love to have fun. And they're now saying that, you know, if you want to get a midget for your birthday party, well, that's how some of those folks make money. That's how ancient jesters in most courts from China to England were dwarves and midgets. They even say the word dwarf or midget is quote, you know, mean now. They're taking every term and making it bad. And sure, it would be fun, I would think, if it's fun for the person coming to do it. They choose to make money doing that. Is that something bad? You could even argue that's bad. But now it's going to move on to a camel offends one Arab, so you can't have a camel at a petting zoo. Or you can't have valedictorians or an honors event. That's like saying, well, they're getting rid of dodgeball. They're getting rid of sports at a lot of schools because, see, all the kids can't win. Well, that's how life is. Some people are better looking. Some people are better at math. Some people are better at social skills. Some people are better at mechanical type things. Some people like working in the fields. Some people just aren't as smart as others. And so they literally want to lower everyone else to the standards of whatever they set. It's an attack on women. It's an attack on men. It's an attack on heterosexuals. The existence of heterosexuals is hateful. That's taught on many universities, that all sex between a man and a woman is rape. That's the standard feminist line. That's not feminist. That's CIA exterminism to screw up the male-female relationship to destabilize society. And now you can't have honors night. and you can't have a petting zoo. This is the total tyranny. So Jay Carney, the White House press secretary, says he hasn't heard of the VA scandal. We're already playing that clip. Bill Press went further. He went on television on the Rockefeller channel, state-funded MSNBC, and said that it's a Republican conspiracy theory. There's no problems at the VA. There's no suicides. There's no death list, even though they're on record to exist. None of that is happening. So I thought that we should play this Bill Gates clip from 2 years ago of him on national television promoting death panels that Ezekiel Emanuel, who wrote most of the bill, promotes, and that Newsweek promotes in the cover story, The Case for Killing Granny. So the death panels are in the bill. It's going nationwide, not just in the VA, and they want to play this game of telling you it doesn't exist, kind of like the drone program doesn't exist. Remember when Gibbs was told to say it didn't exist a decade after it was public? It's like saying the Eiffel Tower doesn't exist. This is what they think of you. Remember, they're not liberals. They're ultra-fascist liars who know what they're doing. Michael Moore has 6 armed bodyguards. I've seen them. I videotaped them. He admits he has them. He doesn't want you to have a gun. He says you're a white racist if you have one. But he's a disgusting tyrant who has bodyguards, just like Dianne Feinstein, just like Chucky Schumer, just like Obama. Let's go to Bill Gates. Here's the clip.
That's a trade-off society is making because of very, very high medical costs and a lack of willingness to say, you know, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So you, of course,
that's an interesting thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had a discussion of how to allocate that money. It means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words,
we'll stop right there. And the reason I play that clip up front is we have the clips in the article by Paul Watson for the Journal of Pediatrics, Bioethics, saying kill babies up to age 3, they're not humans, kill old people. We have all the different quotes. This is what they're pushing. So you can understand the audio that we have of the VA supervisor who's senior at a major East Coast base. I'm going to leave it at that. He was told by another administrator that older veterans should be shot in the head to save money. And we're talking to this guy right now about just going completely public. Supervisors said older veterans should be taken outside and shot in the head to save money. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And so I want to go to the audio of that. And the full 15-minute interview is up on Infowars.com. Here it is.
Where you have supervisors in supervisory positions in this hospital that have been made statements, racial slurs against veterans, have made statements that, you know, older veterans, they should just be taken outside and shot in the head because they're worthless. And this person still works there, and he's still a supervisor.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So this is an exclusive breaking news up at Infowars.com dealing with this. And then meanwhile, we have the incredible denials of people like Carney saying that he first learned of it from the media. Here's that clip.
And just to follow up on that, when was the president first made aware of these problems, of these fraudulent lists that were being kept to hide the wait times? When was he first made aware of those problems? And when did other White House officials, top White House officials, become aware of these problems?
When you say these problems, the fact that there have been bureaucracies,
but
if you mean the specific allegations that I think were reported first by your network out of Phoenix, I believe we learned about them through the reports. I will double check if that's not the case, but that's when we learned about them, and that's when, as I understand it, Secretary Shinseki learned about them and immediately took the action that he has taken, including instigating his own review, or initiating his own review, but also requesting that the Inspector General investigate. And I think, again, I would point you to his testimony as well as the Inspector General's testimony last week.
And by the way, Obama's now standing behind General Shinseki, who heads up the VA, saying, you know, that we're going to up our game and try to make it a little better. I want to explain something here. We're going to come back and document this. This is being done by design. This is being done on purpose, on record, to get rid of the veterans. It's called eugenics. It's called population control. We're going to break it down straight ahead. We break national news stories every week here, global news stories every week. Send your tips to showtips@infowars.com. If you want us to use your identity, say that in the email. If you don't want it used, tell us in the email. We'll protect your identity. Send any provisos you've got. But Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs has been going through his email, and he's back there right now in the news studio recording interviews on video Skype with more whistleblowers. And I'll just tell you point blank, he's already been down at the Austin VA getting enrolled himself. He's got a lot of combat injuries and that still need treatment. And they spelled his name wrong and wouldn't give him care for internal bleeding for over a month. They said in July he can come see him. That's all on tape. And he has the police throwing him out of the parking lot on video just on Monday. We just got so much footage, we got to get around to putting it on air, and saying, well, because of the scandal, you can't interview veterans out here. Because what he does is he goes in, he talks to veterans inside, free speech, and he says, well, come outside, here's my card, I'll interview you. And they don't want that going on. Well, you're not going to stop everybody. Everybody, just shoot a YouTube interview on your iPhone. Upload it. Put it to YouTube. All of you can do this. And I like Staff Sergeant Biggs because, you know, he gets it. He served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and had Michael Hastings embedded with him from Esquire magazine and some big battles. And so those got written up in major stories. And then Biggs, of course, we got to knowing Biggs whenever they murdered Michael Hastings, blew his car up when he was on the run from the feds. And the feds threatened the family and stuff and told him not to go to the press. And then we got threatened. We were sending reporters out to California. We still did it. And so I thought, that's the kind of reporter I want, is somebody that's not a coward. Because all the rest of his friends and family were intimidated. So you can also send your veterans tips to jbiggs@infowars.com. Just the initial J, as in jumping jack. jbiggs@infowars.com. jbiggs@infowars. Yeah, and there's 2 G's. Yeah, I don't know why we always do things like, you know, D Knight or whatever. It just ought to be Knight, or it ought to be, you know what I mean? Just like the simplest emails possible. I'm not complaining. I'm always saying simple emails, and it's like, it ought to be like veterans@infowars.com. In fact, we'll create that email right now, and then that's something that he can check. Or vets@infowars. Vets@infowars. We'll set up vets@infowars right now. And that can be something everybody checks, because there's no way Joe can handle all this.
Good IT on that.
None of us can handle all this. There are just too many whistleblowers coming in, which is a good thing. But that's why I say you should do your own YouTube. And by the way, I tell these whistleblowers, why not just go public? It's the fear of losing the pension. It's the fear of repercussions that has allowed this tyranny to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Because everyone's afraid of being persecuted or prosecuted or retaliated against for exposing corruption, to the point where people won't report on any type of corruption. But what is politically correct is to ban dodgeball and ban any type of fiesta parties at colleges or high schools. Oh, sorry, you can't have a fiesta party, you know, in your health class, in your home class, because tacos are racist. And again, it's meant to make it crazy. Oh, you drew a picture of a gun, or you wrote about guns in your fiction essay. You're going to be arrested. and given psychological evaluation. Even though you wrote an article about your dad who's a Marine Corps captain and told a story about the firearms the Marines use. People are actually, the SWAT teams are called, folks. Again, you can't have valedictorians. You can't have honors balls to honor people that did well in school and who kept their nose clean. Because that's discriminatory. Everything is discriminatory, ladies and gentlemen, except Obama, 50 million, 100 million sometimes on his trips. That's all acceptable. That's all a good thing. Red carpets, all the rest of it. Arresting all the homeless people in Eastern European and African and Latin American cities when he lands so it looks good when he's there. And then he tells Africans, you can't have a car. You can't have air conditioning because it hurts the earth, but I'm going to land in Air Force One. Look at this headline just out. Rabbi, Little League coach, law officers among 70 arrested in online child porn ring. And you know, when I see these type of headlines, I ask myself, is this a group of people that were good and are being set up? Or is it a group of people that were bad, who didn't play ball or being set up? Or is it real? During the course of the investigation, nearly 600 desktop and laptop computer tablets, smartphones, and other devices containing a total of 175 terabytes of storage data were seized. Agents are still examining the devices to locate and catalog evidence, an arduous task that could result in more arrests. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children will also use its analysts to review the images to see whether it can identify children using databases of known victims. This is out of New York, ladies and gentlemen. NBC New York reporting on that. You know, there are a lot of good people in the police, even in the FBI, that do go after real child exploiters, but they never talk about DynCorp. They never talk about the big globalist groups, the UN, trafficking and openly taking children by CPS, or how DynCorp, under its new name, is the biggest private CPS contractor in the United States. That's a telltale sign that they're always busting Homeland Security deputy directors, flying to cities to meet with small children, and rock and roll people trying to meet with, you know, little kids or whatever. But they're never allowed to go after the top of the food chain. Just thought I'd mention that. You know, while we're worried about taco bars being racist or petting zoos being racist or somebody wanting to bring a camel to the school as a hump day joke. I mean, in the whole world of trendiness, that's what's done is quirky things, funny things. You know, show up to your wedding in a Godzilla outfit. And I kind of get that area of trendiness, practical jokes, doing goofy things. I privately do stuff like that around the office when I have time and with friends and family. It's fun. It's what makes life fun. It has nothing to do with putting down Arabs for a college fraternity to get a camel at its party. That's how you make a party fun. And I guess the rest of the politically correct people out there don't understand how to have fun. No, they actually do. They want to dictate to you what's acceptable, and they want you to look to them as the authority of what is acceptable. And the answer to all this political correctness is to say, you're a distraction to make us all guilty of something, so we will be guilt-tripped into going along with your anti-gun, anti-family, globalist agenda. And so you can have the moral high ground while you warehouse the veterans to die, kill the old people, forced abortions, infanticide, rob us with foreign banks, trillions of dollars every few months, wreck our whole future, engage in genetic engineering of the whole planet. While you're overthrowing creation itself, you want to distract us and make words criminal and reduce the language down to nothing because everyone's afraid to communicate because they'll be called politically incorrect. Who cares what you psychological authoritarians have to say? It's important to be politically incorrect just to show them they're not the boss. Because as you go along with political correctness, they're going to make it more and more ridiculous on purpose to make the area of accepted political activity smaller and smaller. I went to work out this morning at a gym with my personal trainer, and I was standing up at the front about to leave, and he was telling me, you know, be sure and do this, be sure and do that, be sure and, you know, juice. And the guy behind the counter goes, hey, Pat, did you hear Hump Day is now racist? And Pat had heard about it, and he goes, yeah, you're not allowed to have petting zoos or camels. And these women got mad at us and were shaking their heads and were upset, whispering they shouldn't be talking like that. So just us talking about the insanity of the politically correct anti-free speech religion was an abomination, desolation. And I told you, I've seen people go, hey, you know, Barton Springs, hey, let's look at Chinese food. Everybody goes, whoa, dude. Don't be racist. Communication is now racist. To say, oh, yeah, you know, black folks, oh, that's racist. To say African-American is racist. To say Anglo is racist. Everything, just be totally obsessed, totally freaked out, totally on eggshells where you don't say or do anything, while meanwhile these are nothing but cultural Marxists ruling over us, laughing at us, saying, you don't like, you know, turning your guns in, you're racist. You don't like Obamacare, you're racist. Where you're so scared of being called a racist, you'll do whatever they say. You people have no power. You're a joke. People need to realize that you have no power. It is so incredibly frustrating to see these people consciously doing this. Yes, it sounds crazy and over the top to someone that's 50 years old or 35 years old or 40 years old or 60 years old to say that if you have a fiesta party for a fundraiser for your fraternity and you have enchiladas and tacos, that it's racist. But for people that are young, they go, okay, we won't have toga parties. Okay, that's racist against Greeks. And okay, we won't have the taco parties. And then remember earlier this year in Colorado and several other states, they said, don't have costume parties. They said it last October as well during Halloween, where you have stereotypes of a cowboy, of a bandito, of a geisha girl, of a Native American. That's racist. No, it's not. It's fun. It's fun to dress up like a Native American, and you don't mean any disrespect to Native Americans to dress up like a Native American. The girls love to do that, little Pocahontas outfits. And then you dress up like a cowboy, or vice versa. This is really meant to be mind control, ladies and gentlemen. And it's about making people feel bad. Because they know the average young person is the opposite of racist. So they've got to be taught now that there's something new to be guilty about. And I know most of you know that, folks, but we've got veterans being warehoused and not given health care. And we've got people like Bill Press saying the VA scandal is just another Republican Party conspiracy theory. I want to play that clip in a moment. And Jay Carney saying he just heard about it, while Bill Gates says, hey, kill a teacher. I mean, kill an old lady, hire 3 teachers. This is a culture of death. They are destroying our future. They are annihilating our industry. We're being shut down, and they've got us worried about taco bars and that there's honors night for an honors dinner with the teachers and the principals to hang out with the young adults that are about to graduate who have A+s and who've shown they want to succeed at life, and they want to go meet with teachers and the principals. They want to show they're part of society. They want to learn to go to business meetings. That's how you learn to dress nice and go to the meetings and go to the valedictorian meetings and go to the honors meetings, and that's where you go, hey, where are you thinking about going to college? Well, that's where I went. You ought to come by the corporate offices of the law firm downtown, and we'll get you to know the people so that as soon as you get ready to go to law school in 4 years, I think we may have a place for you. That's how you go meet people, because it's not about just about your grades. It's about you sit there at the banquet and are charming and talk to people. These are life skills, and the system doesn't want you to have those life skills on the golf course or at having cocktails, whatever. I'm telling you where business is done. It's done at the gym. It's done over cocktails. It's done at the country club. It's done at the corporate meetings. That's where you get jobs. That's where you succeed in life. And they're saying, oh, we didn't do good in school. We don't like the fact that you're going to go to a honors ball. This is an attack on reality, ladies and gentlemen. The globalists don't want men to be warriors. They don't want women to be women. They want you to be dumb, helpless jellyfish that go and enroll in government welfare. Because just like the Democratic representative came out and said, communism has worked under Obama. Yeah, it's worked in butchering this country. Let's go out to break with Bill Press. Here's Bill Press. It's a conspiracy theory to admit that the veterans are on death list and committing suicide in record numbers. Here it is.
You know, let's remember, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is the law of the land. And the people who are ignoring the law are the governors who won't put Medicaid in their states, or these House Republicans who tried to repeal it 54 times. This is just another big lie. But, you know, on the conspiracies, you're right. They went after Obamacare. They were going to run on that this year. That ran out of gas because it's doing so well. So now they've turned to Benghazi. This is soon going to run out of gas. What's next? The VA. I'll bet you that's what they're going to run on next.
Well, they're trying to make the VA. It's conspiracy. It's fear-mongering. And
folks,
Joe...
I want to explain something. We told you about the death panels. They admit the death panels, the rationing of care, where they charge you more for less. It's what they do in Europe. It's what they do in Canada. Brock Lesnar of the UFC couldn't even get surgery in Canada, folks. Remember that? I mean, I know people in Canada. Paul Watson had strep throat a few years ago, almost died. He couldn't get health care, and they wouldn't let him go to a private doctor even though he had the money. And he finally threw fits and got the care he needed. I mean, they say there's no $5,000 fine. Of course there is. It's in the stinking bill.
You have supervisors in supervisory positions in this hospital that have been made statements, racial slurs against veterans, have made statements that, you know, older veterans, they should just be taken outside and shot in the head because they're worthless. And this person still works there, and he's still a supervisor.
That is a senior individual at a major East Coast facility. And we're working on whether we can just say where the facility is, but obviously the voice is easy to recognize. So we should play that by ear with these other big whistleblowers and maybe just do transcripts so we can then say where they work. Because that's then what draws the attention to it. But it's at one of the biggest VA hospitals on the East Coast. And it's a 15-minute interview. I mean, it is just warehousing them and not giving them treatment and just waiting for them to die. And that's what we've now learned about Austin, what we've learned about Phoenix. And it is the policy to not give these people treatment. I remember it was 15 years ago or so, we started learning, it was in Kansas City, that they would strap down the old vets from World War II, Korea, and flies would actually go up their nose and lay eggs in the sinus, and maggots would eat their brain. And then I guess it turns into a VA joke, because it turned out there were cases in Washington State, Texas, you name it after that, where the only deaths from maggots in this country tend to be at VA hospitals and some nursing homes. And look, they don't have insurance to pump. They just want more. That's the attitude of, we'll get raises and have more money if we didn't have to take care of these old people. And you go to the VA facilities now, according to the vets that work here, and they have these special cops there, these mercenary types that get in your face, boss you around. They treat them really bad. And my dad always talked about doing volunteer work in the VA hospital, how nightmarish it was. And some are better than others, but Biggs went in, like I said, Monday to get signed up here. He lives here now. And they got his name wrong. First, they said, well, you can come for your internal bleeding in July, because he was in a one IED that Special Forces dug him out of, where it blew up the armored vehicle and burned up inside, and he breathed all the fumes and smoke and fire, and it burned his lungs and esophagus. So he coughs up blood all the time. I've seen him do it. He's bleeding real bad right now. And he went in there and just has blood leaking into his stomach, down and into his lungs. And they just told him, you know, you can come in July. We may be able to do something. And then they said, sorry, it's going to be longer because they've misspelled his name in the computer. And he just said, so what do I do? And they just said, well, hopefully you won't die. And he'd be on air right now talking about it, but he's in there taping interviews on Skype with more whistleblowers right now. And so that's how it works. He tells a story about one time he was being flown out of Ramstein back to the U.S. in his bloody uniform, because they put it back on him at the hospital. That's the type of care they get. They didn't get him. He was flown out, medevaced out of Afghanistan to Germany. So they dressed him back up in his combat uniform with shrapnel holes in the chest and legs and blood all over it and dirt and other things. And he's going through, and when he gets to the U.S., the TSA pulls him out and yells at him for an hour and a half, saying, why are we picking up explosives? And they were trying to cut open his cast, sticking probes in. And he was saying, look, I got blown up by shrapnel from a mortar. Here's my paperwork. He had IVs hooked in him, everything. I mean, that's how screwed up this country is. The media says they love veterans all day. The system hates you with a passion, and Homeland Security trains for war with you 24/7. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Visit
second hour coming up.
Today.
The cowardly, arrogant scum that runs this country and sucks off all of us absolutely hates men. And they hate veterans more than ever, because cowards hate people that are not cowards. And you see Obama defending the VA scandal and General Shinseki, but saying, don't worry, we're going to up our game. Yes, exterminating your enemy. The Homeland Security list is their #1 enemy. The illegals can get free health care and their babies born for free, but veterans can't. And the VA scandal is building on itself right now. There's another report up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Miami VA whistleblower exposes drug dealing, theft, and abuse. Yeah, more than anything, it's just a culture of criminal activity in government facilities where they're just above the law and do whatever they want. So we're going to be breaking all of that down as well today. There's another report that just broke up at Infowars.com. Is there a GMO chemtrail connection? What food crop could possibly be engineered to withstand the effects of increased heavy metals in the soil? John Rappaport. Turns out Monsanto and others are working on it. That's up at Infowars.com. Also, how central banks are waging war on your savings. Achieving economic recovery and growth requires first knowing what caused the problem in the first place. And that's why the economy just continues to get worse, because it's a consolidation of the economy that we're facing as a society. Also, I want to get to the audio and the video of this. Man claims Albuquerque police caused him to lose a testicle. Officers claim they only fought him to protect themselves. I'll tell you, the Albuquerque police, I'm almost scared to drive through Albuquerque. We see more scandals and more shootings, and they shoot this homeless guy in the back who isn't even armed, and then go booyah when they kill him, and then just keep shooting him, and like get all excited and let the dog bite him for a couple of minutes, and are obviously having some kind of weird hunting thrill. So that's up on Infowars.com. We're going to be breaking all of that down. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but I want to play this clip again right now. Democratic congressman We've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a government job, there's no crime, he claimed. There's no crime? I mean, the areas that are more socialist or communist, like Chicago, New York, and D.C., have the highest crime. But again, if everybody, quote, works for the government or a government contract, only select corporations that get the contracts will be able to operate. Democratic Florida Representative Joe Garcia, fresh off being caught eating his own earwax on camera, was caught red-handed in another gaffe this week, claiming that low crime rates in border cities with lots of federal immigration workers is proof that communism works. They always claim El Paso has low crime. That's pure bull. Let's go ahead and play a clip of that.
We've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime. But that isn't what we should be doing on the border, the kind of money that we've poured into there. And we're having a diminishing return. So while we're spending all this money here, we have border problems in Puerto Rico, where we haven't been able to set up a system that's safe there. And people are finding
No, the third world is collapsing, Representative. The third world is collapsing right now. That's why there's 1,000 at a FEMA camp down in San Antonio. We're going to send reporters down there. That's why there is 1,000 youth, not even really from Mexico. They're from Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, that have made it all the way up through Mexico. Talking about harrowing tale trying to get here. The world is melting down because of globalism. The world is going into artificial scarcity crises. And some of these third world countries don't have industries and are collapsing. We're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with a special guest that's going to break down the incredible hubris of the system and is the world coming to a breaking point. We're joined for the balance of the hour by a talk show host who I've been a frequent guest on his show, I don't know, 5, 6 times over the last year or two, and I'm always impressed listening to it, how informed they are and how eloquent he and his co-host are. In fact, I've even said that, you know, sometimes when David Knight can't fill in, that he and his co-host would be good to host this show. They're that informed on how the world really works. I'd call them real libertarian constitutionalists. But Mike Howard's the main host. And I wanted to get him on to talk about the state of the world and where he thinks things are going, and to talk about the hubris of the ruling establishment, all these cycles coming together, all the corruption, the over-the-top arrogance of saying there's no drone program. If you've got a business, you didn't build it. Raising the debt ceiling doesn't raise the debt ceiling. We're not coming after your guns, even though we are. If you don't like Obamacare, you're racist. Benghazi, the VA, with Al Sharpton and press and others saying it doesn't exist, there is no problem. The VA's had big problems and been hellish for a long time. Now it's outright evil. And we've got whistleblowers at the Austin VA, I'll just tell you right now, people that work there and at other facilities that say, no, these people are committing suicide. And we're trying to get a hold of some of the dead vets' families. But, I mean, they've got stuff like bullet fragments in their spines and things, and they can't get health care. Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, I mean, he'll talk about it on air. He's been really down when he was in North Carolina because of all his injuries and the fact that they can't give him treatment or get him better. He's got shrapnel all over his body, bullet holes, burned lungs from being inside a burning armored vehicle in Afghanistan. Or was that in Iraq? I think that was Baghdad. The point is, we'll get him in here soon. He's just busy doing all these whistleblower interviews right now. And he went into the VA and was there yesterday and Monday all day, basically. And they spelled his name wrong. They tell him, well, oh, sorry, it'll be longer now. We thought it'd be July. We could send some type of endoscope down your throat. And, you know, Biggs will tell you, he wakes up, you know, blood all over his bed. It's where he has black sheets. Blood all over him in the morning, coughs up blood. And they're just like, we'll look at you in July. And he was a staff sergeant in a whole bunch of battles in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he can't even get treatment. And he's there talking to the vets that are just in so much pain, they're blowing their heads off. So we're now learning a lot of the suicide is over the fact they're in so much pain, ladies and gentlemen. And and they won't ever give them surgeries. They just give them pills. And that's what he told them in North Carolina. He threw all his pills away, and he said, I don't want pills. I want you to see what you can do to fix these ulcers, these burn holes in my esophagus and lungs. And the issue is, he's gone and looked it up. They have treatments, but they won't give those to him. Because remember, Obama says, you don't need all these tests. You know, you don't need end-of-life care. Just go die, Biggs. Well, we're not going to just throw Biggs in the gutter. We hired him. And that's what businesses out there need to do, ladies and gentlemen. If you get a tear in your eye when they sing the Star Spangled Banner, or you claim you care about the vets, they've got Wounded Warrior programs that I know they give a lot of the money to the vets that have arms and legs blown off. But what about all the people that are scared of vets? Because the big truth is, most of the trendies and people don't want to hire vets, ladies and gentlemen. And it just illustrates how this government will treat foster kids, CPS kids, veterans, anybody that they've got in their clutches. And it's despicable, so we're going to talk about that as well. The video and the audio is up on Infowars.com. This story needs to go viral. VA supervisor on the East Coast. And I just want to add in the article, we have his badge. We have his name. We went and looked to see that he was in the administration. And he has a very distinct voice. He let us, put this out. They'll probably come after him. So what? Let him come after everybody. Let everybody blow the whistle. Then you can't go after everyone. And it's the standard deal. Where the other supervisors are saying, we're not going to help these bleepers. They're dehumanizing them with racial slurs. They're putting down old people. That's how it always works. Oh, nobody wants babies, abort them. Nobody wants old people, kill them. Nobody wants to take care of black people, blah, blah, blah. Tyrants always dehumanize you so they can feel good about what they're doing. So we're going to cover the waterfront today. TEPCO releasing record amounts of radiation in the ocean. White House picking up pace on executive actions. Boehner says that if they continue to do this, they're going to hit a, quote, brick wall. Rand Paul set to engage in his epic filibusters. The sequel to Rand Paul's epic filibuster is happening today. We're going to have David Knight and others following that. We're going to be following that here. And I intend to open the phones up in the third hour. If you're a veteran and have had experiences with the VA, the good, the bad, the ugly, think we're giving the VA a bad rap here? Well, tell us. The truth is, though, they want to deny care. They see the veterans as a liability and as an enemy. Look at the DHS saying they're the #1 terror threat. Look at the police this week, the clips we played on the news saying, we need these big armored vehicles because the veterans, the epidemic of veterans is committing crime. There is no epidemic. Look at the crime statistics. It's made up. But the federal government's gearing up to fight men that know how to fight. Alpha males. Men that aren't cowards. Men that aren't going to be pushed around. Men that aren't going to be slaves. They hate you. And when they're done with the veterans, who they see as the most manly of the men, they're going to go after everybody else, ladies and gentlemen. Because you take down the men, you got the women, you got the children. Hitler said, first you get the women, then you've got the children, so follow the men. You culturally get the women to follow your political correctness. And then you can take down the men. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you put out a false narrative to the women. That if you do what the state says and play ball with the nanny state and treat your men like they're your children and take your nurturing instinct and turn it into a police state instinct, you'll have a great life. Ladies, you got a great life going down this road? You really feel empowered with men emasculated and dominated? No, you now got the state coming down on you like a ton of bricks. Let's go to Mike Howard of WNFZ 94.3, simulcast on 8:50 a.m. in Knoxville. Thank you so much for joining us and coming on, Mike. There's so much to talk about. What is your take on all the things that are unfolding in this hubris and this breaking point I know you've been talking about?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes or so listening to you, trying not to get too upset before I went on with you. But you know, this latest round with the VA, my dad's a vet. My grandfather is a vet, and to see how vets are treated, to see how we take these incredible men, these heroes, who gave their time, who gave their families, who gave their lives, who gave their limbs, who gave everything they had, so that these leaders, quote unquote, in Washington then can then turn around and say, great, you're an expendable resource, we're done with you now. Now it's time for you to just go away. As long as we can trot you out every Memorial Day and trot you out every Veterans Day and throw a little parade, and then the rest of the time just stay out of our sight because we don't want to see you. In fact, if you would just go into a corner somewhere and just disappear, that would be even better for us. It is unconscionable. It is absolutely one of the most despicable, disgusting things I think we do to any class of people in this country now. And the sad fact of the matter, it's not just vets. You know, when you look at over the course of 6 years, 80,000 plus active duty military being subjected to sexual assault. This is how we treat our active duty military. This is how we treat the people that go out right now and fight for our freedoms, that fight for these idiots in Washington.
The generals are in brand new lavish jets, and for the first time ever, the troops crap in buckets on the C-130s, and everything's rotting with lice crawling all over everything. I mean, it is a total degeneration of the system.
It doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form. Thankfully, though, I recently got to see, and I have to share this because you've got to find some good somewhere. You have to. Otherwise, you go crazy watching this idiocy just go on and on and on. A couple of weeks ago, my oldest son graduated from the University of Tennessee. Very proud of him. It was great to watch the class walk. At the very end of their graduation ceremony, they brought 10 ROTC members to come in and get their commission as officers. So we sat there in this crowded arena in downtown Knoxville and watched these 10 soon-to-be officers walk in, march in, and the graduates all sitting down there started the applause, and they stood to their feet, and they applauded them as they walked in. And you'll have to forgive me because it was a very moving experience. I was standing there with my dad, and he had tears in his eyes. I had tears in my eyes. And to watch these graduates, these students leap to their feet and cheer their classmates on, who will, you know, within a few months' time, be overseas serving this country. And then again, as they left, the same thing. The students stood and started this applause.
But now will they do something? People that have actually served and been through the fire is the larger issue. It illustrates how it's all just so surface in the media to appreciate the veterans and the troops, but then do we throw them out like garbage? I agree. Let's talk about that tipping point, that breaking point, what you think's coming when we get back. You know, we speak about the hubris of government, major corporations, and the system, because more and more they're above the law. There's a video up on Infowars.com that I've now watched during the breaks of the police basically bashing a man's testicles in until he lost one of his testicles. And they get him out of the car, they arrest him, and then they knee him in the testicles till he loses one of his testicles for no reason. And the police say, well, he was resisting us, and I've watched the video. No, they're just physically attacking him. And it's the same department that shoots homeless people in the back and then celebrates and goes, booyah, yeah. And then the guy's dead, and they let the dog bite him and just bite on him and shoot. I mean, it's just crazy people. And that's what we're talking about, folks, is a system where everybody, salutes, the ROTC and the rest of it, because at a primitive level, these are our warriors, our young men going off to battle. We're meant to support that at a very primitive level. But then what happens once they come back? Going back to Mike Howard. Mike, you've been talking a lot about this tipping point Do you think the system's trying to push us into a revolution, or do they just not care anymore?
Oh no, I think they're trying to push us into some sort of break. I think it's not so much a grand revolution as the fact it's divide and conquer. It's the divide and conquer method. It's take everybody and break them into subsets and break them into groups. Black versus white, gay versus straight, man versus woman, rich versus poor, young versus old. You can break it down however many ways you want to. All you got to do is watch any given nightly newscast, any mainstream media newscast out there, and you'll see it's some group versus another group. It's some agenda versus another agenda.
And they're taking all of our basic liberties together. We're all collectively getting screwed, but it's okay because we're being taught to think of problems being caused by someone being different.
Sure, absolutely, because as long as you can keep everybody fighting amongst themselves, then it's easy to keep them focused on everything but what's actually going on. While you're doing this over here, while you're fighting and your little skirmishes are going on in your own little camps, then we're going to go ahead and do this over here. So by the time you're done, you're going to turn around and go, what happened? When did this happen?
Where does your gut tell you it's all going?
The scary thing is, being a father, the scary thing is, I think it's going to get worse before it gets any better. I think it's getting to a point where people are getting so incensed, they're getting so pushed to the breaking point that they're going to get us to the point where we just give in. We're either.
I think that's it. They're trying to put us into a catatonic state of just so much stimulus, learned helplessness, where we just have Stockholm syndrome, basically. And just roll over. That is the tactic. That's why they publicly lie and say, there's no one coming for your guns. There's no death panels. There's no $5,000 fine. You didn't build your business. Raising the debt limit doesn't raise the debt limit. But I don't think it's going to work.
I hope it's not. The thing that frightens me the most, though, is that, for a large part of the population, you got people that are so focused on, really important things like what so-and-so's doing on what reality show or what team might be going to the Super Bowl this year. That's all great and good, and that's wonderful entertainment. But in the long run, it has nothing to do with anything that actually matters. So we're all focused, we have a large portion focused on all these other insignificant things or fighting these moral battles amongst their little tribes, and yet the few people that stand up, you, myself, a handful of other people that stand up and say, look, this isn't right, there's something wrong here, well, then you're labeled an extremist. You're a conspiracy theorist. You need to break out the tinfoil hats. There's something wrong with you. You're a rabble rouser. You're just causing problems. You're spreading lies and you're spreading hoaxes. Well,
that's illustrated by Press and Sharpton last night on MSNBC. They actually said there is no VA story, there is no abuse, there is no death list, even though it's there. They just say it doesn't exist. That can't work forever.
Apparently, as long as you ignore the problem, it doesn't really exist, right? If I don't acknowledge you, then you're not real. So if I don't say there's a problem, then apparently there's no problem, and apparently people buy into that. I mean, you look at what happened just to the north of us yesterday. Here you've got Mitch McConnell in what was going to be quoted the fight for his life, and he just easily walked back in and got his seat back. Because apparently after all the complaints, after all the things we heard negative, people went, whatever, there's nothing I can do. I'll just stay at home and I won't vote. And all he had to do was get a small portion of his base to go out and vote. He gets his seat back.
Well, look at Boehner, who says he's not going to let Obama act as a dictator, but he's been doing that. Let's come back and talk about that Hill headline, White House picking up the pace on executive actions. How far will the establishment let Obama and the globalists go? As far as we let them. All this and a lot more, plus Fukushima news, coming up straight ahead. So, will Obama turn the executive branch into a dictatorship? That doesn't mean Obama will be a dictator and stay in office. It means the executive is becoming a dictatorship along with the bureaucracy. And Congress is being turned into a ceremonial body completely. That's the point we've now reached in this nation. It's officially happening. Historically, people usually don't notice when that's happening, and it just unfolds, and then from there, the prosperity goes out the window. Because it is a moral society, in my experience and in my research, that actually creates the wealth, creates the success. So We're going to be breaking all that down and more here. Before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you a little bit about the products that are available at InfoWarsStore.com. We have really excellent pro-liberty T-shirts, like a guy putting a gun to somebody's head who has a bag of money and then it just says socialism. We have all the Molon Labe in English and in Greek shirts that are the best-looking Molon Labe come and take it shirts out there, bar none. We have them in women's and men's apparel. We have the Paul Revere shirts. We have it all at InfoWarsStore.com. We have a complete line of women's clothing as well. And it's all there to get the word out, InfoWarsStore.com. And your purchase of the books, the videos, the high-quality water filters, the high-quality shortwave radios. We have the very best radios at the lowest prices at InfoWarsStore.com. Also then funds this operation. So you get high-quality products that you're not going to find in stores, in most cases anywhere, delivered right to your door, and you're going to know and have the peace of mind you're funding the very tip of the spear of the promotion of liberty and freedom, no holds bar, no compromise, no apologies. The Pro Pure G2 filters cut out the fluoride, the glyphosates, the heavy metals, all of it. Annihilate the competition for a lower price. 10% off promo code WATER, the lowest price anywhere, InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. You can also go to InfoWarsStore.com, and when you go to InfoWarsStore.com, you can, again, find all the products, or InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com is a specific, pioneering, trailblazing, but also in a way back to basics supplements that we have. Super Male Vitality discounted. Survival Shield, proprietary nascent iodine discounted. The Lung Shield, Lung Cleanse. The Fluoride Detox that also chelates and gets out the heavy metals and other things. All of them work together in fusion. The Silver Bullet, that's sold out. That's back in supply. Some of the strongest nano silver you're going to find anywhere that we had produced, especially for InfoWars listeners and viewers. InfoWarsLife.com. Also, we have the nightly news, the subscription, and see all my films, online books, special live events, and so much more. 18, 19 years of material. PrisonPlanet.tv. $15.95 monthly membership. Is really 11 memberships, and I want to thank all of you that are PrisonPlanet.tv members. You are funding the very tip of the spear of the new media that is overthrowing the dinosaur globalist media. And then finally, our sponsors, folks like MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex, MyPatriotSupply.com. Everyone should have storable foods. This is the place to get it. Super high quality, 866-229-0927, non-GMO, organic, high quality, great customer service, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. Going back to Mike Howard of WNFZ 94.3 in Knoxville. We also have the great folks on WBCR outside Knoxville and Truth Radio, who's had us on for 15 years so that we can spread across the country, including 6 other affiliates in the great state of Tennessee and Memphis and in Nashville and other areas. But Mike Howard joins us. Mike, you know, there's so many topics I wanted to get you on about, but before the show, I said, what do you want to cover? And you said the tipping point, the breaking point, where you see this going. How do you think we can defeat this? And then I want to get into White House picking up the pace on executive actions. The White House will be picking up the pace on executive actions as Congress focuses its efforts on newly formed select committee investigating Benghazi. Senior Obama advisor Dan Pfeiffer said yesterday in an op-ed of the Huffington Post, he argued that congressional Republicans are not interested in engaging on the economy. We've already seen your Obamacare that's shutting down the economy. Instead, spending time obsessing, trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act and ginning up politically motivated investigations. No, Obama's been committing crimes. Of course, some of the Republicans are trying to gin up political stuff because the constituents are demanding it. And the Republican leadership, like Boehner, is busy blocking it, acting like, oh, I want to just change Obamacare, not repeal it. The White House has dismissed the select committee investigating the terrorist attacks on Benghazi, Libya, announced earlier this month by Speaker John Boehner. Boehner went on to say that if they continue to ignore Congress, he'll, quote, hit a brick wall. But I think that's rhetoric. So what do you say, Mike Howard?
I'm telling you right now, we need to start holding these people accountable for what they're doing. I mean, the problem is it's all empty rhetoric. Nothing's being done. We hear these. We live in a world of sound bites and 30-second video clips, and yet they sound great and they read scripts very well, and they stand in front of the teleprompters and they give us nice flowery speeches, and they encourage us to be better, and yet we don't hold them accountable for the fact that they don't ever deliver. They never make anything better. They never do anything to actually make anything better. It's all just whitewash. It's all smoke and mirrors. And there's going to be a point where people get so sick and tired of just the endless, empty rhetoric. And now it's gotten to the point now where they don't even do it well. I mean, James Clapper sitting in front of the Senate saying, I gave the least untruthful answer possible. I lied to you, yeah, but it was the smallest lie I could find. I mean, we have to pass the bill in order to find out what's in it. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense.
Well, Clapper said we are not spying on any Americans. That is an absolute giant lie. Then he lies and says it's not that big a lie. He perjured himself. And again, historically, you get to a point where if they don't get in trouble, the bottom drops out and destroys the establishment themselves, because everyone starts lying, everyone starts cheating, total confidence is lost. The establishment, all they've got's lies, because they're a bunch of crook scammers who play golf all day.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is the ruling elite in this country is a joke.
They sit inside that Beltway bubble, these celebrecrats. And we put them, for some reason, we put them on these pedestals and we bow at their feet and say, you're special people and you're much better than we are. Please go and lead us. And then they don't even lead us. They do nothing. They sit there and just figure out ways to stay longer and longer in their seats and do as little as possible. And for some reason, we keep sending them back, because it's never my guy that's bad, it's your guy that's bad. He's the one that's doing bad things, but my guy's great. He needs to go back up. Yeah, he's done a couple bad things, but he needs to go back up and have another chance. The people need to wake up in this country and quit being fed this pablum of, this person can't hold this office because he's not electable. It's not for the media to say who's electable. It's for the people here casting their votes to say who is electable and who isn't electable. We're fed this idea that we can't make a decision for ourselves, and if we do, then well, you're tipping the canoe. You're not doing what you should be doing. You're not falling in line correctly. You're stepping out of line. You're being a rabble rouser. You just need to do what the media tells you to do. You need to do what the government tells you to do. And as long as you're all right and you stay within that line and you listen to our line of bull to you, and just buy into it, because it's all true, at least in our mind. We're all going to pretend like it's true, and then you just smile and keep on going. There's going to be a day where people finally get to the point where they say, this is enough. You either do what you're telling us you're going to do, we're going to hold you accountable to this, or you're gone. But that's when the hard work starts. That's when we have to step in and say, all right, now what do we do? The hard thing is what happens the day after that guy leaves the office, and we have to fill that seat back. That's where the hard work starts, and I don't know if people are up to doing that. There's people who want to stand back and say, look, there was a time in this country when we held each other accountable, when we treasured hard work, when we actually put up on a pedestal honor, and we put up on a pedestal faith, and we put up on a pedestal pride and dignity. Suddenly, those are all bad things anymore. You just don't do that. You just go along with what you're told to do. And if you step out of line, then you're not doing the right thing. And I'm done buying into that. And I think more and more people every day are done buying into that. I agree with you. I explained to my 14-year-old son that, there was a time in this country when we made things. There was a time in this country when we had pride in what we did. There was a time in this country when we were at the forefront of science and technology and freedom and business, and we led the world. And now we stand back and go, well, we're great. Well, why? Because we've given away all of our technology. We've given away all of our businesses. We've shipped everything off to as many places as we can. what do we do now? We just stand back and go, hey, we're great because we're great. We're great, but we could be a whole lot better, and we need to be a whole lot better.
You're right. The globalists have hoarded this country out 1,000 different ways to gain control of the globe and set up their world government, and now they're in the end game to fully bankrupt us, shut us down, and dumb us down and move on to machines to fight their wars. And you've got the Democratic congressman saying we've proven that communism works. He's come out and basically said that. Florida Rep. Joe Garcia, we're going to play that clip, and then we're also going to play the other Democratic congressman from Georgia saying that islands float in the water. That's an old clip to illustrate something. There are smart technocrats and globalist controllers who try to guide this planetary system for their own gain. But so many of the dishonorable weirdos that work for the system really believe islands float. They really believe Obamacare is free. They really believe that communism is good. And so a lot of them really are just idiots, but we bow down to them and let them run our lives. And so that's why the world's so screwed up, because good men and women have done nothing. And so now it's time to change that and stop complying with these people. Let's play the clip of this kook Democrat congressman, Representative Joe Garcia, saying that communism's good. Here it is.
We've proved that communism works. If you give everybody a good government job, there's no crime. But that isn't what we should be doing on the border, the kind of money that we've poured into there. And we're having a diminishing return. So while we're spending all this money here, we have border problems in
by the way, the borders in California, Texas are crime-ridden cesspits. But he's saying there's low crime, everything. Next, we'll say Mexico's wonderful. Highest crime rate in the world per capita for the nation. Chicago beats them out as the top city because they have a gun ban there as well. It's run by communists, basically, and mafia that's above the law. Again, you live under communism, they're exempt from it in palaces. And there's no taxes too high, like France, 101% for the middle class, because the ruling elite are exempt. And they get your tax money, so of course it's going to be 100%. Because you put up with it. That's the level of tyranny you'll live under. What's the congressman's name? Remind me. We've got the clip here. Yeah, Hank Johnson. Guam will tip over. And again, we've got other kooky clips from these people, you know, about your kids don't belong to you. But let's go ahead and play this clip of Hank Johnson.
That the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
And also things like the environment, the sensitive areas of the environment, coral reefs and those kinds of things. And I know that, you know, lots of people don't like to think about that, but...
Oh, that's enough. That's Hank Johnson. I want to draw an image for him for TV viewers. Radio listeners, I'm going to describe it. This is just for Hank Johnson and other people that literally have been put into power by the establishment because they're dumber than a box of tiddlywinks. I mean, this is just amazing. You've got the ocean, and the deepest place in the world is the Marianas Trench, and it's, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 feet deep. Okay, but in most places, you've got a lot of islands where like the Caribbean, around Belize, where it's only on average about 30 feet deep, and you've got islands, usually coral islands, but also volcanic islands, that stick up, okay? So in the topography, like you see hills, Hank Johnson, when you're out driving around the countryside, well, if there was water over that, you know, where you're at sea level, those hills would be islands, okay? You know, with things like palm trees on top of them. So if you build cities on those and things, and you have people living on those, it doesn't tump over. It's not floating. Islands aren't boats, okay? Then you get too many people over here, and then it capsizes, all right? And I want to explain communism's a nightmare as well. It does. Islands don't float, and communism doesn't float either. It does actually capsize. So just explain to you how islands work, and I want to explain to Garcia how communism works. it's really a coming out of these people. The parading around that you can't have a taco party or it's racist, a fiesta. You can't have a petting zoo because Arabs don't like you having camels. I mean, what is this mass mental illness? What is this? We're talking to Mike Howard of 94.3 there in Knoxville, Tennessee. Or am I extreme? Maybe islands do float. Maybe I'm being racist right now.
I think your drawing was racist because one of your people should have been black. They were both white, but that's neither here nor there. You know, I'd like to tell Representative Garcia that, you know, at one time we actually proved that the United States works very well. If he wants to say that communism works, well, that's great. Well, the United States works very well, and it has for a long, long time, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. No matter how hard they try to make it go away, no matter how hard they try to sink it, we're still going to be here, and we're still here, and we're still fighting each and every day. This idea of I'm just going to sit here now and just lie to you. I'm just going to tell you direct lies. I'm going to tell you exactly what what I'm going to tell you, and it has nothing matching with anything that's going on, and you're going to believe it. And we've been so beat down and so dumbed down and so conditioned to just accept it and take it. And that can't go on anymore. That's got to stop, Alex. That's got to stop.
But Mike, if you question an anointed God who says that islands float, you're being a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
If there's any problem,
you're not going along with the narrative, and of course the narrative is I'm smarter than you, and you just need to accept that. Whether I'm talking about islands floating, whether I'm talking about global climate change, whether I'm talking about whatever I decide to tell you. If I tell you the sky is purple, and
it is. That's enough racism from you. We'll be right back.
Memorial.
The truth is, the establishment is just very nihilistic and doesn't care, because they never get in trouble for what they do. TEPCO is now releasing contaminated water into the sea, a record 560 million tons of water a day. 560 tons of water a day. They just pump it right over the melted down reactors so they don't explode. And then it goes right in the ocean, and it comes right across to us. And you've got 75% of reactors, according to CBS News. The Atomic Energy Commission says its agency says it's 91% of the 430 plus or whatever it is are leaking. For me, Mike Howard, a talk show host on 94.3 WNFZ in Knoxville, and one of our great affiliates that carries me, I guess, 6 days a week there. Always enjoy coming on your show. But looking at this, I'm just illustrating the same psychology. They used to run nuclear plants better. Most plants in the U.S. are leaking, and they've turned off the alarms, like in Southern California, saying, well, we don't want to scare people. We're going to violate federal law. We've been given a waiver. The alarms won't go on now when we release radiation. And Ann Coulter says radiation's not bad for you. It really just sounds like crazy town to me.
Well, and of course, you know, it's crazy town if we talk about it, not if they talk about it. If they say it, then it's fact. You know, it's backed by science. Well, why? Well, because we said there was a scientist that said it. Well, who is it? It's Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's not really a scientist, but, you know, he plays one on TV, so believe that he's a scientist.
Well, JAMA just came out and said if you think cell phones are bad for your brain, you're insane, when there's literally over 1,000 studies. London Guardian last week says definitely brain cancer.
Yeah.
And then JAMA just says, doesn't matter, you're nuts. It's crazy town.
Yeah. Yeah. The absolute ego, the egomaniacal, just the insane hubris that comes out of D.C. each and every day. You stand back, and I'm awed by it. I mean, I am absolutely dumbfounded by it every day, because people just buy into it. They say they accept it. They say that's fine because they said so. Because they told us Obamacare was good, we're just going to accept it as good. We see that it's bad. We know it's bad. But we're going to believe that it's good because we can't believe anything less than that. The only way it changes, is that people need to start, A, holding their leaders accountable. And then B, they need to hold themselves accountable. We need to look back in the mirror and say, look, you know, we keep sending these people back here. Why do we do that? We start small. You start locally. You start with your own leaders in your own community. And then you move on to your state, then you move on to your region.
That's right.
And eventually people in D.C. go, oh, hey, something's going on right there.
That's right. And the bureaucrats that are out there, they have to realize that believing their own propaganda isn't working anymore. The corporate people, the police, I want to come back and do 5 more minutes with you. What is your take on the domestic, but start talking about it now, the domestic buildup against veterans and the police saying, yeah, we're getting armored vehicles for the coming war with vets. I mean, how obvious is that?
You know, to stand there and say, look, here's good men that are going to stand up and fight. I mean, here we are in Tennessee. We had the Battle of Athens here where people took up arms, where vets came back and took up arms and said, look, there's bad things going on. We're going to fight back. That scares the hell out of the people up in D.C. So they want to go ahead and get the jump on it. We're going to go ahead and knock you down before you have a chance to build up. But you know what? Tyranny will always turn away from the light of good people.
That's right. Stay there. Tell folks about the Battle of Athens when we come back in 60 seconds. Mike Howard's our guest. After he leaves us, I'm going to have vets on with your VA stories. Stay with us. Third hour coming up and a bunch of other news. Final segment with Mike Howard, talk show host in Knoxville, 94.3, where I'm on the air 6 days a week, weekdays and the Sunday show. And I always enjoy going on their morning show. You can tune in there, 2 or 3 hours every morning. Expanding on this, though, we're going to give the phone number out here in a moment for vets to call in with your stories of the VA and the stories of suicide, what you think of Obama saying there's not really a problem, saying Shinseki doing a good job. What do you think of Bill Press on MSNBC and Sharpton saying it's a conspiracy theory? There are no problems at the VA, even though there's admitted death panels and death lists and warehousing of people and rationing of care. I mean, that's what socialist health care is. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. In the 4 minutes we've got left, Mike, other points you'd like to make about this paramilitary buildup, and tell folks about the Battle of Athens. I know there was a made-for-TV movie made about it, but it's an amazing story.
Yeah, it happened just to the southwest of us here in Knox County, in Athens and Etowah, McMinn County. Basically, August 1946, you had vets coming back home, realized that their government was corrupt. There was voter intimidation going on. They tried to get some of their own people out in these offices to clear up to kind of clean up the local government. The vote came up, and the elected officials, the corrupt officials, went in and basically stole the ballots, took the boxes, and took them to the jail, and refused to let them be counted. So these vets took up arms and went and fought to get their city back. And you know, I think that was the first shot across the bow, 1946, and now here we are in 2014, and the government is still terrified of these vets coming back and saying, look, you know, this isn't right. It's not right how you're treating these people. It's not right how you're treating us. A vet dies basically 1 an hour. You know, we're seeing vets die 1 an hour every day here in Tennessee, and due to suicide, and it is such a travesty.
That's right. There's 20-plus suicides a day.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the last count, about 23 to 24 vet suicides every day. So basically 1 an hour we're losing. And to allow that to continue is so wrong. It's so wrong on so many levels because we owe these people everything.
Well, absolutely. And again, the NFL, all of them with all their Obamacare and anti-gun stuff, use the vets to sell what they're doing.
Sure.
And then meanwhile, they're literally enemy number one. We're forcing this story out, not just the VA, but the militarization of the police against vets. It's treason. And it shows the government is run by illegitimate people. Only a foreign power, only a globalist corporate collaborator enemy would want to prepare for war with the vets, and would only be doing that because they're planning something really horrible. What do you think it is the establishment's planning that's so horrible they know there's going to be a civil war? I'm asking you that question. Oh, his Skype froze. Well, we just lost him. Well, again, I want to thank him for joining us. Good interview. And I look forward to having those guys and his co-hosts back on in the near future. Mike Howard, and that's with 94.3 WNFZ, one of our great affiliates across the country. We've got 6 affiliates now in Tennessee. That's good for our show in a state that size, in the big cities there and the rural areas. So 94.3 WNFZ, Knox Talk Radio. So very exciting to have those guys with us. We've been on there a couple of years now, but First, he had us on Sundays. It got popular. Then they picked us up at night. And then, you know, that's how it works. That's why I do the Sunday show for now 6 years, is give stations a taste of the show. They go, hey, this isn't what everybody said. He's a crazy guy. This is really good. Our listeners like this. We like this. And they put us on weeknights and then weekdays. And so that's how it works all across the country. Over 170 affiliates now across the United States. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the other side with your phone calls and more. Rand Paul set to start part 2 of his epic filibuster today. We're going to be covering that on the Nightly News and tomorrow with highlights at Infowars.com. Well, just breaking minutes ago via Politico, Nancy Pelosi names Democrats for Benghazi panel. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi has officially tapped 5 Democrats, Elijah Cummings, Adam Smith, Adam Schiff, Lisa Sanchez, and Tammy Duckworth, to the special committee charged with investigating the Benghazi attacks. The Republicans know exactly what happened here. It was a hit of Stevens by the local al-Qaeda force used by the Pentagon and NATO to run security in Benghazi that had been used as the main command city to bring down Libya. The ambassador didn't want to transfer 3 warehouses of surface-to-air missiles and other heavy arms to al-Qaeda for the Syria war. The Turkish ambassador threw a fit, and they sent in al-Qaeda to murder everyone. But 2 Navy SEALs showed up from behind, flanked the al-Qaeda forces. And instead of them taking them an hour to get in and kill everybody, it took them almost 8 hours. That drew attention to it. So the military knows what happened. There is Benghazi. I want to go to your phone calls right now. Then I'm going to get to other news dealing with simply amazing information in Albuquerque, the place where they keep shooting homeless people on the back and stuff and saying they're above the law and celebrating when they do it and not letting folks into their city council and just everything else. I mean, it's really a scary city, a federal model of liberal tyranny. A law student gets pulled over. He wants to invoke his 4th Amendment. So the police pull him out, spread his legs, and start kneeing him in the testicles till he loses a testicle. And the police defend it. And it's all because he talked about the law to them. The full unedited video is there on Infowars.com. We have a clip of the newscast coming up. But, man, that is really creepy. And I like New Mexico, and Albuquerque's, you know, a pretty town in my view. You go over the hills and it's down on that bowl, but it's just really scary, the amount of evil coming out of there. Really, really creepy. Now, we have this story up on Infowars.com. It's red-linked. VA supervisor, older veterans should be shot in the head to save money, exclusive. Whistleblower reveals new Veterans Affairs scandal. And to be clear, this person's pretty senior at the hospital, and their voice is very clear. They don't want to disguise their voice, but they obviously don't want to be exposed at this time. So we made the decision not to release their name and where it is. It's on the East Coast. We got a bunch of other whistleblowers that are about to reveal where they are and name names of stuff even more insane, like people saying they're going to commit suicide if they don't get health care, not getting it and committing suicide because they're in so much pain. But I want to play a clip of this. The full 14-minute interview is up at Infowars.com if you want to go see it and hear it. But here is the whistleblower talking about the type of stuff that's being said and being done at this particular facility. Here it is.
You have supervisors in supervisory positions in this hospital that have been made statements, racial slurs against veterans, have made statements that, you know, older veterans, they should just be taken outside and shot in the head because they're worthless. And this person still works there, and he's still a supervisor.
Now, this attitude comes from this idea with the socialists that there's only so much money and resources, and new kids being born, old people being taken care of, veterans being taken care of, that's why we're broke. No, we're broke because we've been signed on to globalism, and it's designed in actuaries to bankrupt us and to have artificial scarcity under Agenda 21 and Cloward and Piven. And everybody better learn what Agenda 21 and Cloward and Piven is. And they did this in feudalism thousands of years ago, long before the professors came along for the White House and did Cloward and Piven, husband and wife. And they said, we're going to create so much socialism and shut down the economy and bankrupt America to fully socialize. Because socialism can't compete with free market. They know that. But they want to run the culture, so they will wreck the whole system to take control of it. They will tear it down to build it back up. But they don't build it back up as a good thing. It would be immoral if they were trying to make us slaves to make us free later. Plus, that never works. But they are immoral people that can't produce, that want to run your life. It's always nobodies that want to run other people's lives. The coolest, smartest, best-looking artist and people, you know, they want to be left alone. They want to be reclusive. They've got their close group of friends. The coolest people I know are reclusive and only have a few good friends and like to have a good time and want to be left alone and don't want to run your life because they're so confident. We all know weirdos that obsess on you, want to tell you what to do, want to run your life. These people are the bane of civilization. And I'm sorry to all the cool people out there who don't want power and who want to be left alone and already have power and are already successful and want to hide from all of the scum. I understand. Those of us that do know how the world works, who do have confidence and things, it's our job. We have to go out and displace these control freaks and reestablish liberty, or they're going to enslave all of us, okay? They don't like us. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest guy around, but compared to these control freaks I am, they want to morally tell us we're nobodies. And again, I've noticed who they hate. You know, you can talk to like really beautiful women and they'll tell you that nobody comes up and asks them out for a date because everybody's so intimidated by them. Instead, people are rude to them and mean to them. Really good-looking men, it's the same thing. You'd think people that were really good-looking would have it all great. No, that's not the way it is. It is with some people who are confident and aren't intimidated by it. But for a lot of people, they're going to mess with you. It's the same thing if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you have a company, if you have an, I mean, take media. When you've got strong media operation or having a big effect in changing society, there's all these people that say it should be mine. And so they try to bring you down. They lie about you. They lie about WorldNet Daily. They lie about InfoWars. They lie about DrudgeReport.com. The mainline Republicans lie about libertarian conservatives because they're threatened by us because we are calling BS on them. They're a fraud. We're annihilating MSNBC. InfoWars Online just dwarfs them. We're showing those graphs right now. We are 1,000 plus paces ahead of them on the Alexa ratings. They are plunging, we are rising. So, of course, they hate us because we don't tell you what to think. We don't tell you that you're a piece of crap, you know, and that only we have the answers. We tell you you're great, you're wonderful when you embrace liberty. They sit there lecturing you all day about what scum you are. And so, of course, they hate veterans, folks, because these people hate men. They hate strength. They hate courage. They absolutely are threatened by masculinity, period, because it's the antithesis of what they stand for. They want the big, powerful state. They want the drones. They want the weapons to dominate men and women. They put fluoride in the water because they're so weak, they want to stun you like an electric eel stuns its prey before it eats it, or a spider, or a snake. They're scum. And they know they're scum. I'm going to go to your phone calls. Rufus, Holmes, Casey, Eric, Allen. And I want to hear from VA whistleblowers particularly. Rufus from FEMA Region 5, I guess that was formerly Missouri or something, I'm guessing, worked for VA Hospital. Rufus, thanks for calling. Tell us your story.
I don't know where to begin. What do you want to hear about first?
Hey, whatever you think's most important.
Well, I will say that the veterans, I was a veteran worker at the VA hospital for over 4 years before I moved to where I am now. And I'll say veterans were definitely treated as the the lowest of the low. I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe someone who works in a fast food restaurant, and there's the one homeless guy that comes in asking for a glass of ice water. That's how they were treated, like that person. If they were lost looking for an office, you know, it was just a culture of no. Go away. I don't care what you need. I don't care what you're here for. Just go away and go bother someone else. And the best way to describe it is as if the DMV opened a hospital. That's really what the whole place was like.
Perfect description. What do you want to say to Bill Press that says you're a liar? Al Sharpton says it's racist, basically. And there's a conspiracy theory that the vets are treated heavenly.
Just go there. It's a dirty place. It smells. Any veteran that has insurance through their job will not go there. It's mostly the poor veterans. What I learned being a non-military person, I grew to dislike the military because I see what they do to these poor folks. The Vietnam vets, the Korea vets, I didn't see them as useless. I think they have not lived up to their potential because of what we've done to them. But that's the government's fault for doing that. We have made them useless, but that was a consequence of war.
Well, that's right. And societies that don't take care of their veterans are pure scum. And look, what you do to the least of me, you've done to me, Christ said. Anybody the globalists have their clutches on, they absolutely screw over. And now that we learned their secret death panel list for them, did you ever see warehousing of the really old ones, like, hey, don't give him care? Did you ever see that?
Well, no, I did not see that. But my office was a converted patient room because there was limited space, and I shared that with several other people. So
well, sure, that's compartmentalized by the doctor ethics boards, too. You don't hear that. Just the treatment orders come down. Thank you for the call. We'll be back. For folks that know, that listen to my show over the last 19 years, up until about 6-7 years ago, I didn't understand the whole veteran thing. I knew the globalists were using the military to build a world government. I knew they were funding the radical Muslims at the same time to create the crisis. And I would not give all the lip service to the veterans because I didn't want to be fake. And it wasn't until I matured a lot and realized that veterans were a core part of our audience. They had always been. Now, most of my family are veterans. And then I realized the globalists hated their guts because they're a key piece of this puzzle. That I realized just how important the veterans are and how horribly they're treated. And I guess it's a camaraderie because in the liberty movement, we are the second most demonized group. It's veterans, and then it's libertarians and gun owners and constitutionalists, and we're all in this together. We're in the same Army. We're in the same Marine Corps. We're in the same Air Force, whatever you want to call it. We're in the same info war together. The enemy has put us together and said that we're its enemy. So we're in this together. Back to back, folks. They're coming after all of us. And they're scum. And, you know, you've got Memorial Day coming up, and there'll be all this lip service, and you know, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. When everything our veterans reportedly have fought and died for is being overturned, and you got scum openly announcing that communism is good in Congress. It's crazy. Let's go to your phone calls. Let's talk to Holmes in Texas, then Casey, Eric, Alan, Michael, and others. Go ahead, Holmes. Thanks for holding.
Hey, it's actually Thomas, but that's okay.
Well, I'm sorry. They didn't put the T on there. It says Holmes on there. So, Thomas, I apologize. Go ahead.
It's okay, sir. I have the privilege to talk to you, tell my story. I'll start off with when I first started having any interaction with the VA. I got out of the military when I was 21, and right as I was getting out, I started developing symptoms of what I now know is what's called cyclic vomiting syndrome. To summarize it, I basically start throwing up for like a week, 2 weeks. I can't keep anything down. I have horrible abdominal pain. It gets so bad where I have to end up going to the hospital. I'll go to the hospital. They'll give me IVs. They'll give me potassium. I've been hospitalized for it probably 6 times since I've gotten out of the military. And every single time, it seems like when the very first time I went in Buffalo, I was being treated great. It was some of the best care I'd gotten. And then the last 2 times I've gone to try and be hospitalized, it's a completely different system. It's like they don't care anymore. Like I said, I have horrible, horrible pain. And whenever I go, I go to the ER, and then they eventually admit me to the hospital. Well, while there I was waiting to be admitted, I'm in pain, so I'm moaning, I'm making sounds, and they're telling me to please keep it down. Like I have any control over that. It's not voluntary. I don't want to be
When you're
there.
talking about the VA, well, you've led us to the real point and what we should be covering here. And I want to direct my whole crew to do this. Secret experimentation on troops, black people, you name it, foster kids. Any group the eugenicists that run the feds have control of since about World War I will be given different vaccines and things as a test. I talked to one of Rick Perry's top people 8 years ago who came to Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, and I had some people talking to me. Later I saw the guy on TV and realized, wow, that really guy works for Rick Perry. He said, look, Rick Perry's a good guy. We heard he was in your movie. We don't want to be enemies. And I said, well, he shouldn't be trying to force girls to take Gardasil. He said, listen, I worked at Fort Sam Houston. Before I did this, I was in the Army. And he said, they brought special forces in. We were told to give them these shots. All of them died. They wouldn't tell us what it was. We went in decon suits, sprayed it down with bleach, moved out all the bunks and stuff, and threw them away. That's what they're doing. So when they give you hundreds of shots and experimental anthrax shots and the rest of it, they are testing things on you and, quote, soft killing you. And I'm going to hold you over if need be, Thomas, but do you know what soft kill is?
Yes, I've been, what I'd say, awake for about a year now. I've been listening to you, and I do a lot of personal research on my own. I like to think of myself as an info warrior. People are always calling me crazy and saying, oh, stop talking about it, but I'm not going to stop talking about it because I'd much rather fight the info war before we start to fight another shooting war. I've shot at people. I've been shot at. It's not fun. Let's keep it from getting there as much we can.
Anything else you want to add? I mean, what do you think causes all these mystery illnesses in the troops? I mean, it's on record they're giving you deadly anthrax shots and smallpox shots that have been killing people. I mean, what do you think's doing it?
I have no idea, to be honest.
What did you work in and around?
I was infantry, so I really didn't have, like, chemicals I was around. I was just a normal...
Were you around DU? Were you around DU? Stay there.
Yeah.
We're on the march.
Yeah, I
the
thought so.
Empire's on the run.
DU fries your guts.
Alex Jones and
your
the
kidneys,
GCN Radio
your
Network.
liver, and your bladder. Tyranny is something that historically comes in a lot of different flavors and different packages, but on the inside it's the same thing. It's groups that want total control and to run society who use the structure of government or any major system to expand a larger system of control. And it always targets the old government, especially if it was a liberty-based system, by 1 degree. If the old system was better in any way, they will go after it, and they will always go after and purge the veterans. And they'll purge the police when they're done as well. And we have a particularly virulent type of takeover happening right now. Thomas, then we'll go to Casey, Eric, Alan, and Michael. I'm in a hurry now. Finishing up your point, look, it's the vaccines. They had the anthrax shots in the mid-'90s, and again in 2000 they were giving folks that were killing base doctors that took it, so they had mutinies of doctors. And it wasn't really mutinies. The media called it that, who said, we're not giving this, so it brought attention to Bioport and how deadly it was, and that it was killing people. Same thing with the smallpox shot that killed some reporters that took it. Some national reporters, one of them was NBC, had a heart attack. That's what it can cause you to have as an autoimmune response in the heart valves. This is stuff that is extremely experimental. It doesn't protect you. They admitted the anthrax shot didn't protect you and caused serious autoimmune disorders, but it's everything else they're giving you. Project Shad, the nerve gassing of troops, where they would kill troops, British and U.S., just even in the 80s, and tell their families, oh, your husband died of the flu. They would even dissect their bodies. So this is what's going on. You were seen as scum. You were seen as trash because the ruling elite are eugenicists. That's their attitude to begin with. All right, let's go ahead and go back to your calls. Thomas, do you think it's DU? Do you think it's the vaccines that's causing you to have all these health problems? Because you look statistically at the veterans. I mean, they are just in desperate straits, and then they can't get health care, as you said. Used to be bad. Now it's really bad. I guess you're supposed to go curl up and die. Do you have any idea what did it to you?
I personally think it has to do with the GMOs and fluoride in the water. See, before I was ignorant to that, and I'm not going to lie, I ate very unhealthy. I lived at the Jack in the Box, and since I've cut that out of my life, I've slowed down a lot. And I notice if I'll go and eat some fast food or cheap GMO food, I get sick right afterwards. I feel it's an effect of our environment, and that's why.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll be on the road sometimes, and all there is a Wendy's or a Jack in the Box. And I go, I got to eat. And I eat a Jack in the Box and literally had what I call a panic attack an hour later. I never have stuff like that unless I eat it. Then you read what they're allowed to put in it. All these drugs that, they call fillers. They're really psychoactive drugs that addict the general public. But if you haven't done it in a while, it really hits you hard, just like any drug. And you're absolutely right that this is, listen, there's a London Telegraph article today about, are you allergic to your cell phone? Because people are getting so sick around this stuff. Of course, and the fact is most people are getting soft-killed, being sterilized by it, and don't know because it takes 20 years. You ought to be glad you're so, probably allergic to this GMO that, your body's rejecting it. So that's some good intel, good information. Thank you for the call. The body gets overwhelmed, too. It could be all the vaccines, the DU, you name it. Then it shows that when you're maxed out, then other stuff triggers allergies. People didn't used to be allergic to cedar, mountain juniper. They didn't used to be allergic to peanuts, strawberries. I mean, the schools are like medical facilities now with all the special diets and bubble kids because they're not being breastfed. They're not being brought up with an environment. They don't play outside anymore. They have their normal buffers. And then they're given all these vaccines. One flu shot. The Canadian government did the study 5 years ago during the H1N1. One flu shot cuts your immune system to the regular flu by 50%. One. 3 flu shots doubles your chances of Alzheimer's. Don't believe me, just search engine that term. How big a news story is that? We are being murdered. I've had multiple family members that got the Dalcon shield back in the 70s. I'm not going to say names or family will get mad. People very close to me. They call it an IED, not an improvised explosive device, but an internal little device that goes around inside the uterus to keep you, an IUD, that goes around and keeps you from ever forming and being able to have an egg attach. Creates continued inflammation. Turns out they knew when they approved that in the late 60s that they knew in clinical studies on humans, or people approved to be part of the study, that it caused endometriosis, destroyed the inner lining of the uterus, and caused massive infertility. And 2 people in my family that got that were sterilized by it. Turns out that Dow Chemical, in association with Monsanto, did not just have Agent Orange with what they called it weed killer, defoliant. They added a neurotoxin, synthetic cobra poison. This was declassified about 6 years ago. Dr. Doug Rockey, former head of the DU program, broke it here. The document was declassified. No one was covering it. He said, have you seen this? We broke it here. Not bragging. I'm just saying it broke here. The document from the mid-'60s where they added it, it was really a chemical weapon. A chemical weapon to actually nerve gas the Viet Cong and call it just the dioxin defoliant, which is bad enough. It was neurotoxin. They added neurotoxin, and our troops were in it, and they knew it. I mean, the government is run by murdering total filth. The average social worker's not bad. The average cop's not bad. The average FBI agent's not bad. The average CIA person is not bad. I can tell you. But they're compartmentalized, ladies and gentlemen. And the people on top of this are pure evil and take real enjoyment in hurting our veterans especially because they're getting rid of you. They don't need you anymore. They're moving to robots and drones. Autonomous vehicles. By 2025, there'll be no combat troops to speak of, folks, except for special operations. And they'll be there with robots. It's over if we don't stop them. You've been warned. This is real. This isn't sensational. Reality is sensational. The things I've seen, the things I've done personally are sensational. A lot of it I won't even tell you some of the stuff I know, folks, because people can't handle the truth. You want answers? It's a quote of, what is that movie, A Few Good Men? Then we can pull that up online. You want answers? You can't handle the truth. And I'm telling you, folks, we're 2 minutes to midnight. The globalists think they're God. They're operating as an alien species. And I'm not saying they're real aliens. They call themselves a new breakaway species. They consider themselves to be God. And if you try to get in their way, there will be warfare. Well, let me tell you something. Hillary Clinton isn't God. Barack Obama isn't God. David Rockefeller isn't God. I happen to know about these people, their lives, what they stand for. They are narcissistic scum and the very last people to lead humanity. They are literally desecrating our human spirit, and they are the filth of the earth. Casey, then Eric, Alan, Barbara, Michael, everybody. Casey, thanks for holding. You're on the air, an Army vet. What is your take on the VA? What's your story?
Well, the VA takes about 6 months to lift a finger to pick their own nose. So you can imagine what it takes them to do our files. So, and that's the guys that actually get care. The guys that don't get care, they're done. And if we got time, I'd actually like to try and wake you up.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Okay. You're always talking about, we've got to do this and do that to, get the right people in. How can we do that in a corrupt system? A chalkboard analogy would be perfect, or a whiteboard analogy for the younger listeners. At some point, you have to erase it. Now, just to cover your butt.
No, I know, but generally when you erase something, the corruption's already there. It gets even worse. I'd like to work on the template of the Bill of Rights Constitution. But don't worry, they're probably going to start a civil war. And so everybody talking about violence, you're going to get your shot. I mean, it's going to be hell. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about violence. I don't want violence. I'm an infantry veteran. I've spent 2 tours in Iraq, and no, we don't want violence in the country. But with as corrupt as the system is, the absolute minimum I see that we're going to be able to do to get our country back is to march on Washington and arrest every politician in every single branch of government, executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. And we need to start all over with new patriotic people.
Do you think all of them are guilty? Because the issue is they need to have trials.
Yes, I agree. They all need to have trials, but we need to arrest every single one of them first, put them on trial, and then if the evidence is there, they need to be convicted. If the evidence is not there, then they need to be cleared of all charges and released.
Well, I think the idea of I think the idea of an InfoWar operation where we write up a treatise saying we know you're criminal, we know about the takeover, listing the UN running our military, listing the treaties, and say you have 3 months till this date. This is just hypothetical, folks. I'm not saying do this. I'm just brainstorming this, wargaming it. To either announce that you're with the Republic and want to be part of a plan to reorganize the country again and kick out the Vichy French collaborators, basically is the analogy, or you're going to be considered part of it. You send them a notice letter, and you have everybody with petitions with millions on the whitehouse.gov, and everyone sending thousands of letters per congressperson over and over again a day, and going to Congress and going to their local office and making it a movement to say, traitor, traitor, traitor. You either admit we've been taken over by the Foreign Federal Reserve, you either denounce it and say you're going to kick the globalist out, or you're going to be considered part of it. I think they have to be put on notice that they are part of the criminal program, and they need to declare where they stand. Because, I mean, what are we going to arrest? Walter Jones? Are we going to arrest Rand Paul? Are we going to arrest, Ted Cruz, Amash? Are we going to, I mean, you know, there's a lot of good people up there that are talking just like us, saying the globalists are scary, Obama's scary, we're going into a dictatorship. You know, it's just, that's the thing about revolutions. The globalists are revolutionaries. We're restorationists or counter-revolutionaries. That's what they call us, actually. They know we're the good guys. And so the danger of a revolution is most of the time you get something worse when you've overthrown the last system. Because, see, the last system is vestiges of the old republic that wasn't perfect, but light years better than globalism, with globalism overlaid. So it's a very sophisticated situation, and I'm glad we're debating it, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, you just said before you got me on, was that we're 2 minutes to midnight. We are out of time. We don't have time to, you know, go through the bureaucratic red tape and get this done the way that it should be done.
I hear you. I know. It's really bad. I mean, they're on TV saying communism's good and our kids belong to them, and every award show they're having satanic ceremonies, and I'm living in a Twilight Zone movie. I mean, they're putting cancer viruses in all the major vaccines. They put fluoride in the water that brain damages people on record. It's total crazy land. And what do you do when you're faced with an elite that is so evil and the public's so naive? I think the biggest thing is all the yuppies and sitcom watchers. We got to somehow reach out to them with banner hangs and stunts and calling into talk radio. And, you know, to all the talk show hosts that make fun of me, and I appreciate your call, sir. Great points. I mean, I tune in sometimes to
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
That's what it comes down to. Maybe we should play that one more time. Because I think it says it all for the general public.
Answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
My issue is the public ready for the truth? I mean, this show is the truth, folks. We really know what we're talking about. We understand the enemy's operations. We know what makes them tick. And you either get what the enemy's saying and understand what we're facing, or we're going to lose everything. The globalists come from different elites that have merged together for thousands of years that have manipulated humans and have disdain for the public. You can't do the things they do to people and not have a hatred of the average man or woman. That's why they see the veterans as total dogs, as total scum. And then they want to lure young people into joining so they can chew up the best and brightest and use them to create this whole new world order. Let's go to Alan, and then Eric, and then Michael and Barbara. You're on the air, Alan. Army vet as well. No other vets, just Army vets calling. Alan, what's your take on the VA?
Yes, sir. Good to speak with you. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right.
Yeah, well, I was stationed 4 years, active duty, out there in your backyard at Fort Hood, and I'm 27 now, and I got out about 3 years ago, and I moved back home to Georgia and went to the Atlanta VA, and when I first heard the scandal, you know, if you don't see, I don't know, you know, I didn't see anything like that personally because I got out of there, but let me tell you, it's creepy. When you pull in the parking lot there, you just get a feeling of how bad it is. And, you know, luckily, you know, like I said, I'm 27. So for the younger guys, they can't just kill us. But, man, you know, these Vietnam guys, the older generation, man, they're really sick in there. And it's like you just see them. It's so bad. I felt so bad for them. And they're just struggling. And then the younger guys, like us, the ones that do get an appointment, as soon as they sit you down, first thing, let's ask you about your guns. Second thing, we want to go ahead and prescribe all the antipsychotics, you know, things like that. So luckily, I don't go there anymore.
Stay there. I want to hear about this when we come back. Makes me hate these globalists so much. They are the most cowardly, degenerate filth on the planet. And they absolutely hate veterans. I want you to hear that, folks. They want you dead. You understand that? We'll be right back. People should go to veterans events that the media is covering tomorrow and make a scene about the VA and what they're doing and say, we're not going to let you just trot out the vets and act like America's great. America's occupied by globalists. And we're not going to let you use them anymore when you hate their stinking guts. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it'd be one thing if they were throwing the vets in the trash and treating them like crap. That makes me mad. But the grandstanding and how much they love them, and it's so sick. And the VA are just hell pits. It used to be bad. Now it is just, I mean, I talked to a lot of the guys that work here are veterans, and they just talk about how badly they're treated. And how they'll be an old man or something going, I'm hurting. All like big guys going, watch it, old man. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a tough guy, folks, but I mean, I would blow up if I saw stuff like that. And then we were just talking to Alan in Georgia. He was talking, we're going to go to Overdrive and talk to Michelle, Kathy, and Eric at least, about how they ask about your guns. Yeah, what about those guns? You crazy? What you planning? And what they do to the vets, they're going to do to everybody else now. What they do to people in their clutches is a beta test for you and I. And I am sick of it. So finish up your points, Alan.
Well, yeah, a few more quick points, and then I know you got to take some other calls. I wasn't going to mention it. I was mainly talking about when I got out, but I went to Iraq in 2006 and also 2008. And I want to say that when I was on hold, I was listening to your other callers, and I'm also, and you're right, I'm very concerned about the number of shots that I had to take, and particularly the anthrax. I'm concerned about future possible, health side effects from that. It's pretty scary stuff. But yeah, going back to the VA, basically, if you don't see which I mean, you called it too. We all kind of saw it coming when they first broke it. But if you don't see, of course, they're going to be all over the country. But I almost guarantee the Atlanta VA was also a part of this. And real quick, the bigger picture, I think you hit the nail on the head these past few days. Of course, they're targeting veterans, and the healthcare thing is bad enough, sir, but that if people really knew that they were taking it a step further, like you put on air, and calling us domestic terrorists, that's just even more of a slap in the face. And I really appreciate you putting it out there. Because, the only reason the VA healthcare scandal is on any mainstream media now is no thanks to them. It's thanks to you and then the other alternative media.
Well, yeah, really. I mean, we weren't really on top of the VA thing like everybody else. I've been on it for years, but it was alternative and libertarian and conservative radio that forced it out there. But to see Bill Press and Sharpton make jokes about it, I mean, I'm just sick of these people, man. Just because they have a lisping voice and pink ties and act trendy and act effeminate doesn't mean that they're intellectual or good people. And I'm just sick of all of them. We're like ruled by a bunch of fake Nellies that behind the scenes are just raving evil demons. I appreciate you calling. God bless you. We're going to come back and jam in as many calls as we can in this little bit of overdrive. Please don't forget, I get so busy covering the news, I don't even plug the great products we have. We need you to become PrisonPlanet.tv members, the nightly news. Share your passcode with friends and family. 11 people can use the same username passcode simultaneously. That's InfoWarsNews.com or PrisonPlanet.tv. We also need you to go check out InfoWarsStore.com for the super high-quality water filters discounted, the Life Straw, the Pro Pure G2 systems, 10% off promo code WATER. We've got the InfoWars Life products, a couple of them discounted right now in a special, the Super Male Vitality and the Survival Shield Nascent Iodine. I cannot tell you what these products have done for my clarity, my energy, my libido, everything. It's just been incredible. Experience it, take the challenge, and I know you'll continue to order it, which funds the operation. InfoWarsLife.com, PrisonPlanet.tv for the nightly news, 7 o'clock tonight. Very powerful. Overdrive coming up in 1 minute.
Visit GCNlive.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now transmitting worldwide in Overdrive. We're going to get to many of these veteran calls as we can, Navy vets and others. And I've kind of gone slow here. I apologize. Let's go quick. Michael in FEMA Region 9, guess that's on the West Coast somewhere, formerly part of the U.S. What is your experience with the VA?
Alex, I'm employed by the VA. I clean toilets and showers and tubs for veterans. And My personal experience is, you know, I've had a lot of long wait times and this and that, but I got my eyes open and I'm awake. And if I see anything wrong going on, I'm going to bring it to attention. What my concern is my son, who you kind of hit on this a couple of callers ago. He's got a full ride scholarship at a university back in North Carolina. He was ROTC commander of his high school as a junior and a senior. He's got a full ride, and he wants to get a 4-year degree in criminal justice. And I asked him, I said, "You going to be a cop?" And he kind of chuckled and said, "I don't know, maybe, Pops." And I said, "Well, if you're going to be a cop, be a good cop." But then he wants to go to 82nd Airborne. I'm trying to expose to him.
Well, I think it'd be great to join the military, even though they go on some evil missions, because we need good people in the military if they weren't giving them experimental vaccines. I think no one should join the military. We should make it a big political issue that they're still doing experimentation on them. And people say, well, they don't have rights. They're troops. No. Federal law says you can't give troops experimental vaccines. It's illegal. And that's how we got the anthrax shot stopped twice and a bunch of others. So, and InfoWars was at the forefront of that. And I'm proud of that. Because let me tell you, they can make the troops take shots. They can make us take shots. So we're all in this together. God bless you, Michael. I don't know. It'd be better for him to be a cop than in the 82nd Airborne. I mean, they'll automatic re-up him. They will use him like birdcage liner. So I would never do that. I understand he wants to be a warrior. He's a man. He wants to be challenged. He wants to show his mettle. But it's just they treat you like pure crap. Let's talk to Eric in Texas. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, buddy. Army vet. Go ahead. Tell us your take on it.
I'm going to blow my whistle loud, partner. Look here. I had the anthrax shot before I went to Desert Storm back in 1990. Now, after the war, we got taken out to the destroyed tanks. I saw the T-72s laying in the battlefield. Now, I'm here to ask, why were we taken to a site that was very possibly destroyed by our depleted uranium shells at the M1A1, which I worked on, shoot down range?
No, that's right. You weren't supposed to be around those. Dr. Doug Rocky was there. Most of his team died.
I never have got an answer. I do have a letter from DOD, though, from 2000 that says if I was with my unit on the day specified, I probably was exposed to chemical fallout, possibly due to munitions being burned in Iraq. Another key point here, I used to go to Austin VA, but now I go to Temple VA, and they don't diagnose PTSD. It's a big no-no. The director of the, somewhere up in the chain, put out the memo and said, you don't diagnose that. You diagnose anxiety, depression, irritability, and all these symptoms, but PTSD is off the books because it costs too much money. Austin American-Statesman did an article on that, which I believe I still have a copy of it.
Incredible, sir. Look, I'm sorry to all the other vets. We'll do this again tomorrow. Barbara, Kathy, and John, if you give folks your number, we'll call you tomorrow, I promise. Or if you get back in and go to the head of the line, I'm out of time. Nightly News Tonight, 7. The good news is major attention's on the VA now. We may be able to get some reforms if people stay angry.